I feel like this is one of the biggest days in Band-Maid fandom in a very long time. And do you know what? I am so excited. I've got my Band-Maid merch on because as a fan, I just feel like today is a huge thing that maybe has gone under the radar if you haven't been checking the social media, specifically Saiki's social media. And I say this partly because I didn't actually notice the post. So a big shout out to Harry from my community who first put it up in our Discord, and then Chris who gave me all the links that you can find in the description below if you want to go and see the post we're talking about today. And it is this post. Now, a seemingly very innocent looking post. We all know about Japanese artists. They love to do like plain white text on black backgrounds, usually means it's an announcement. Plain black text on a white background usually means it's something bad, like they've broken up. So I'm glad that the colors were that way around. But we're going to be talking a little bit about this post today because, well, I feel like this is a love letter somewhat to the fans, but also in doing this, Saiki has given us an insight into something that I feel a lot of us have been wanting to really get some answers on for a while. Now, you know, there's a lot of people who are going to chip in and say there's been other comments about this that the band have made, but really this was the first time I've seen something concrete that has really talked about their feeling about touring overseas and specifically where they're going to tour overseas. Now, it's no surprise to anyone who's been following the story of Band-Maid for a long time, and I've been a fan since, I remember clear as day, January 2019. I've obviously seen them alive a lot here in Japan where I reside, but as you can tell from my accent probably, I'm not from here, and so I'm aware of a lot of the fans in my community who come from all over the world. And many of them do come to Japan to see Band-Maid, but a lot of them have felt like, you know, desperately waiting for Band-Maid to turn up. And of course, the biggest number of those has been the European fans who haven't seen Band-Maid since before COVID, you know, sort of, well, at all in this decade, which we are now more than halfway through. And, you know, I've heard so many reasons behind why people feel that is. And, you know, if I just go into them for a second, because I do want to slightly talk about how we got to the place and why this announcement is such a big, important, and for me, uplifting and heartwarming thing. But it is worth sort of slightly going through the story a little bit, and I say this as a Band-Maid fan, but a lot of us have been wondering a lot about when and where they're going to tour, and it kind of devolved a little bit into conspiracy theories. You know, there were people sort of saying, oh, you know, Pony Canyon doesn't want them to for whatever reason, and I know Pony Canyon well enough to know that I can't see any reason why they wouldn't want them going to Europe. I heard people saying stuff is it because of the Ukraine situation, which, you know, makes about as much sense as not going to America because you think that a Mexican drug cartel is going to get you. I mean, there was all these kind of conspiracy theories. There was people talking about the management. Oh, is that going to change now that, you know, Band-Maid have sort of consumed? You know, a lot of people thought they changed the management company. It was more that they took people from their management and turned them into their own self-contained company, made it. You know, which of these things is going to change it? You know, people wondering, is it something to do with the band? Do the band have any say in this? And all of this is conjecture. As I keep on saying about these things, you know, you never know. One of those things might be true, but ultimately we had no idea why they weren't coming back to Europe. And, you know, a lot of people as well were wondering a lot because they've been going to America so much. It's like, have they just fallen in love with America? You know, I mean, because they went to America, I think they went a good 2 or 3 times. And so the European fans were sitting there sort of chomping on their fingernails like, come on, come back. And, you know, it's fair to say that, you know, Band-Maid had built up a lot of a fan base in Europe. We did a couple of episodes on Ears to the East, the podcast that I'm on with Neon Reaper and Benedict from Reactor. We did a couple of episodes. One was back in 2003, and then we did another one 5 months ago, just sort of giving updates on this and hoping that they would be back soon. But the truth is that once again, no one knew. And when we say that it's something that had been kind of disheartening for a lot of people, this is not, like I say, because we don't know, it's not us saying personally, oh, we don't think Band-Maid likes their fans or anything like that, but it was just this question mark. So when are we going to get an answer? We'd heard, you know, things like Magi, the opening song from Epic Narratives, you know, obviously has I believe it's a German name, and there's like, you know, there'd been some comments, but no one seemed to be saying something specific until now. And this is where I think this is beautiful, because this announcement, with this post that she made, covers a couple of things. So let's just quickly read through it, and then I'm just going to sort of talk about a couple of things in here as we go. So, opening line, really love it. And this was posted in English, by the way. I actually don't have Instagram, so this was given to me again, thanks to Chris and Harry who posted this in the Discord. You can join our Discord if you want. That is linked below. But anyway, so this is the announcement. It says, Thank you for always supporting Band-Maid. Lovely start. Your voices are our strength at all times. All the words you write to us, maybe you wonder if we get them, but I am sure that the words you have written are reaching us. We read each and every one of them carefully and keep them deep in our hearts. So again, it's sort of re-establishing that idea of, look, we still love you guys, even if we've been in Japan, touring in Japan. It's like we haven't forgot about the rest of the world, which she covers a bit more in a moment. Thank you for sending us your warm thoughts, even from far away. Although we come from different countries and speak different languages, I feel that we are connected through music. Love that sentiment. Very universal sentiment. Very true. Something that it's good to keep on reminding people. Even when you see like things that you don't understand from bands, doesn't mean they don't love you. Doesn't mean they're not sort of seeing those messages and getting them Google translated themselves. Our dream of world domination, she continues, is not over yet. In fact, this is the real beginning. Now, I love that because, she's putting a lot of weight on the future being even bigger than the past. And as I say, the reason why Band-Maid are so popular overseas, that's the majority. Well, they have a disproportionately large amount of fans overseas, which is really great. It shows how much they've connected with this international audience. And that is partly because they had toured so much. We know about America, but also the fact that they toured in Europe before COVID and everything like that. And let's face it, before COVID, they were a much less well-known, much smaller band. Yeah, they were getting a lot of fanfare from online things like online reactions, ironically. But, they were a much smaller entity, and they've very much grown in popularity and sort of notoriety since then. But it was interesting that they built up this love with overseas fans. And the fact that she's saying, world domination's not over yet, this is the real beginning. Yeah, it's a little bit of hype mongering, I'm sure. But at the same point, it just shows the mentality that like, whatever we've done in the past, we're going to do bigger in the future. She continues, we'll definitely go to everyone around the world again. This is a very interesting sentence. We will surely bring our sound to those we have not yet met. Now, I love this. There's so much in here. And again, I know she's writing this in a second language, so it's so easy to read extra stuff in here that maybe isn't intended. But I feel like there's a lot of important points in there. First of all, she's talking about seeing everyone around the world again. That's the first sentence. And then the second sentence is saying, going to see people we have not met. Yeah, not yet met. That kind of covers everything we want. Because for a start, going to see people around the world again, that's got to mean Europe. I would be mind blown if that just meant they're going back to America. And of course, I want them to go back to America as well. But America has most recently seen them disproportionately more than the rest of the world. So them going back to Europe is going to be a big thing. As I've said before, I know people who, I can't name names, but I know people who are genuinely massive Band-Maid fans. Really big Band-Maid fans who've said themselves that they felt, and European, I should point out. And yeah, I'm including the UK. I'm talking about the European continent. Don't give me politics. It's massive Band-Maid fans who've said that they felt a little bit like when they were seeing all those US tours, they were like, just do one festival, just come to us. And they were feeling a little bit like overlooked. A lot of them who were like, oh, I'd saved up money to see Band-Maid next time they were in Europe. But instead, I went to see another band. Now I'm a big fan of this band instead. And, you can tell that their allegiance is kind of like being torn by the fact that so many other bands were coming to Europe. So I just feel this is massive. It's going to reignite a fan base that is there, that does love Band-Maid. And there's so many, I hear this actually sometimes because I'm in Japan and I haven't been outside of Asia in a decade now. But so, sometimes I'll talk to Western fans who come to see Band-Maid in Japan. And sometimes I hear people say, if European fans want to, they just come see them in Japan. It's like, most people can't just afford to just go to Japan. It's like an expensive thing. So this is reconnecting with a massive fan base who genuinely adores this band. We're not all made of money. One of the reasons why I haven't been far from Japan, apart from, well, actually, to be honest, I probably wouldn't even if I did have the money, but I don't have the money, so I sympathize with people in Europe who can't get to here and can't get to America. So I feel like there's this huge fan base waiting to be reignited. You're going to have those old school fans who maybe saw them in 2019 or have been listening to their music all the way through COVID, who are going to be sitting there and they're just going to wait. They're just going to be so excited to bring new fans or meet new people who just happen to come along and go, yeah, I've loved them since then. And, you get the old school fans and the new school fans meet, and it's going to reignite so much of that passion that, and it's a bit overdue. I do think that they can probably have lost some fans would have just kind of got a bit who were maybe ready to become more fans, but maybe just fell off the ladder halfway in the meantime. But I feel like there's still a huge fan base that this is going to reignite if that's what they're saying. And short of actually saying we'll be back in Europe, this is the closest that we could get without the word Europe actually being used. And I feel like that is a massive thing. However big their presence is, even if they just do a couple of festivals, this is important. So I feel that's something that I'm really happy to see them saying that. And then the other bit, which I feel is super important as well, that second sentence will surely bring our sound to those who we have not yet met. Now, that might mean new fans, like I mentioned, in places like Europe and America. But secretly, I hope this is the other thing, that maybe they're going to go to some other countries. Now, I'm not the sort of person who remembers every single tour that the bands I love have been on. Unless I'm seeing them on the tour, I tend not to really pay attention to where bands tour that much, except for just anecdotally what I hear from other people in the community. Because, hey, if I'm not seeing them there, I just hope they do well. But in this particular case, I'm sure there's a lot of countries that Band-Maid have not been to yet. Maybe a place like Australia, I don't think they've been to. Yeah, various places they could have been, that they could go to. Around Asia as well, there's going to be other places in Asia that they haven't been to. There's so many new countries that I hope that they're going to explore. Obviously, we know their reputation in Mexico is really cool. So, yeah, little things like that. They're obviously willing to go to countries that maybe you don't automatically think of when you think of touring. And so I hope we're going to see a lot of that. And maybe that's the thing. We've been enjoying here in Japan. We've been enjoying things like we had the Zepp tour, we had the Hall tour, we had all these kind of things. And if someone told me next year Band-Maid are not going to really be playing in Japan that much, they're going to be off in the rest of the world, touring their hearts off for a whole year, visiting every single person, I would gladly miss them for a year here in Japan and just applaud it for the sake of all those other Band-Maid fans. Because the world domination concept has felt a little bit like a inappropriate label in recent years, and I feel now it feels really appropriate again. It feels exciting. It feels like that central mantra has come back in a big way, and I love that. I really love that, and I'm so glad for it, especially for a band like Band-Maid. The last couple of sentences, let's read it. Your smiles, shouts, and tears that we see from the stage have brought us this far. It's true, and that's the way it should be with any truly brilliant band. They've been built on fan support. The fans have lifted them up. They've never been boosted into that position by big money. The companies have been great and given them the money they needed, but they've never been on like some massive label that just sort of like shot them up to the top of the charts. They've got there from slowly winning, or quickly actually, but winning the fans over, and the fans have lifted them up to this position. It's been that brilliant connection between a creator, an artist, and the fan base. She continues, we want to go further with you, higher and deeper. We want to go with you. Please stay with Band-Maid. That line, please stay with Band-Maid. I think that's interesting because I don't know. I mean, again, it's probably just, when you think about how that would probably be translated from Japanese, it's probably just a general nice statement. But in a way, I kind of almost feel like there could be an underlying sense of, we know some of our fans have waited too long, and that could be in there. Let's see the dreams come true together. Beautiful final line. And so I have to say, so that's the post. Like I say, I'll try and make sure to link that all below. I asked my community to just double check and see had any of the other members posted anything like this on their communities. We didn't see anything like that. No one's said anything like that on the official account and anywhere. This came from Saiki. And so I personally want to give a big thank you to Saiki. I really do. This is not a letter. This is hard to translate, so I'm not sure if she'd ever see this. But I want to give a big thank you to Saiki because I feel like Saiki, and no disrespect to the rest of the band, but in saying this, I feel like she's spoken up and she's put so many hearts at ease. Yes, she didn't use the word Europe, and we don't know, but it's talking about seeing new fans, talking about getting out there, talking about seeing the world. I feel like this is something that a lot of us just needed so that we could have that clear idea. And yeah, there's always going to be Band-Maid fans who are like, I trusted everything Band-Maid. I never questioned anything. It's like, okay, if you're an automaton, that's fine. But yeah, we're all humans. We all have emotions. And, it's something where a lot of us were sitting back there going, come on, you're the world domination band. You're the world domination band. And now we're back. And so for me, I think what Saiki's done here doesn't seem to be a big official thing, just something she posted. For me, this is super important. I think this is one of the most important things that Band-Maid have said in years. And so, yeah, thank you, Saiki. Thank you from, I can't really speak on behalf of all the fans, but trying to embody what I suspect most of the fans would say through me, I would like to say on behalf of all the fans, thank you. There you go. There you go. Band-Maid. World Domination. It's back on. And until I hopefully see you very soon in Japan for the next one of these. Or until they see you in Europe. Or wherever you are. For now. That was cheesy. Ciao, ciao.